Hello and welcome to AutoToday. My name is Dipayan and you're joining me to review the newest entrant to the 125cc segment, but more specifically the sportier side of the 125cc segment. This is the Hero Xoom 125 and it shares a lot of mechanical components with the Destiny 125, which is in the same family, but there are some crucial technical changes which we'll talk about later. But first, let's talk about this design, which is all new for the Xoom family, and it will also set the tone for the rest of the family going forward. Now the thing with the 125cc sporty segment is that you need a sharp, captivating design that captures the imaginations of the young audiences that it's targeted at, and I think the Xoom 125 does that really well. The design is inspired by a falcon and you can see elements of that in the sharp beaky front end and a lot of ways that the body flows along to the rear, sloping upwards, which really sets the tone for the philosophy. But in terms of features, of course, you have all LED lighting with the indicators mounted in the front fascia. You also get LED DRL and LED projector headlamps, which is pretty premium considering the segment. You get 14-inch wheels up front, as well as a disc brake, although you get drums at the rear. Tail lights as well are all LED, as well as the indicators, although this would have probably looked nicer mounted into this rear plate and would have looked more cohesive to the design and kept that rear end cleaner, allowing you to look at that nice 14-inch wheel, which is a considerable section considering that it is just a 125cc scooter. Now, of course, you also get this very chunky exhaust that adds to the sporty character and adds to the bass note that you get from the motorcycle, but we'll get to that when we are riding. But overall, I think the design looks really good. This is one of 5 colors. This is the matte lime color that they're positioning as the flagship color for this model. I think it looks really good, it's striking and it gets people attention, but there are 4 other colors to choose from. This overall, in terms of design, I think it is pretty cohesive and striking enough to make an indent into the 125cc segment. Now, storage solutions are what make scooters practical, and without them, it really loses the sheen of wanting to buy one, and Hero have complied. You get 2 storages in the front. I think this is enough for a water bottle and your phone. Of course, you do get a charging socket right here. One of the things I did notice though is that the footboard is a little small, so it's not really going to be easy to carry stuff there, although we never recommend it. Now, under the seat is a 33-litre storage, which is about adequate, enough to carry your daily essentials, but not enough to fit a full-size helmet. That said, it should do the job, although it does leave one wishing for a little more in terms of space. Now let's get to riding and tell you what the Xoom 125 is like to ride. Now, powering the Xoom 125 is the same 125cc motor that we get on the Destiny, except on the Xoom, it's got a slightly different state of tune, which means that you get 0.8 horsepower more at 250 RPM higher, which means that you get 9.8 horsepower in total at 7,250 RPM. The torque though remains the same at 10.4 Nm, which is pretty much okay for this segment. Now, Hero claimed that this is the quickest scooter to 60 in this segment, making it from 0 to 60 in 7.6 seconds, and I think that is quick enough. Now, the one thing I really don't like about the motor is the amount of vibrations that it has, and it really sends it through the floorboard and into the handlebars, which is not something I really like considering that it is a 125cc mill that isn't really extracting every ounce of horsepower that it has. Now, as I told you, it does have a very interesting suspension setup, which means you get 37 mm diaphragms up front and a single-sided swing arm on the rear. Now, it is set a bit stiff, but it is very hard to tell if the stiff ride is on account of the suspension, on account of the fact that it comes with 14-inch wheels, which makes it a whole lot more stable, especially when you're driving through corners and taking sharp turns, but it also makes it that much more stiff when you're riding it. Overall though, the scooter does have a nice character. It is interesting to ride. There is tractability in the throttle, but it does leave one lacking in terms of refinement, and one does hope that the refinement could have been slightly better. Brakes from the 220mm disc up front and the drum at the rear are pretty good, and they provide adequate stopping force, although it does feel like there will be times when you will reach full lock on the brake, which is not a great feeling at the lever. Additionally, the Xoom 125 also gets the I3S function, which is an auto start stop function, which should help in increasing the fuel efficiency all that much more. Something that you do need on a sporty scooter the likes of the Xoom 125. Overall though, it is an exciting scooter to ride, but does it really wow the segment? I'm not really sure. Now, Hero have priced the Xoom 125 for this top-end variant for 92,900 rupees, whereas the base is about 86,000 rupees, and that puts it at par with the competition. And for the price, I have to say that there are a few things lacking. The quality could have been a whole lot better. The panel gaps in some places are really difficult to look at, considering that this is a premium scooter. Now, for the price, you do get a very tractable 125cc motor, 14-inch wheels, and a pretty striking design, but it does seem to miss the mark by a little bit. It does serve as a good setting for the Xoom 160, which will come later, and it does show Hero's commitment to the premium segment. But as far as the Xoom overall goes, I think it's a great product with the right intention, but it definitely needs a little bit of work to make it absolutely perfect and a strong contender in the 125cc space.